Since the last time we talked, I got to hear Charlie, the album. I saw you just retweeted this 1.3 billion streams since then. Dude.
Can you believe that? I
Yeah.
mean, my goodness. It is wild to me, but I'm happy.
And you should be, man. I know when we talked last, not a lot of people had heard the album yet, and then it came out, critical reception. Since then, I got to see you live when you were in Chicago. That was my first time seeing a live show of yours that wasn't like a radio show, like a true Charlie Puth concert.
Yeah.
My buddy, my producer, he's actually sitting right over here. We stared at each other the minute, because I think you opened with Charlie Be Quiet. And
I did, yeah.
Literally, dude, we looked at each other. I'm like, sonically, I haven't heard a concert this well audio engineered in a very long time, if not ever.
Wow, my goodness, thank you. So every night before I go on stage, I think an hour before they let the people in, they let the house in, they call it.
Yeah.
I'm
the pros.
Just I don't hear. I make the band go on stage and I hear the mix myself, and then because every room is different.
Sure.
And just slight little adjustments in that little, making the snare just like 2 decibels louder can really just, because on Charlie Be Quiet, like starting off with that, I really want the snare to just smack everybody in the face. That was such a special show.
Dude, and that auditorium too, I don't know if you knew the history of it. I went to college right over there, right? That's where I went to school. And that auditorium went dormant for a very long time. And it's just recently been reinstated as like a room that concerts are in again. But like Springsteen's played there. Eddie Murphy did a comedy show there.
I didn't know that.
And yeah, that's why it's an old vaudeville room. That's why it's so short front to back, and then it goes all the way to the top, 3 or 4 decks, something like that. Yeah, man, it sounded great, and I'm excited. You have this new tour on the way, the Charlie Live Experience. Or let me get this right: Charlie Puth presents the Charlie Live Experience.
The mouthful.
Yeah. No, man, I would expect nothing less. So tell me, okay, you just did a tour where you got to play very controllable rooms. Now we're stepping up a notch in the biggest way possible. Are you nervous about the acoustics? Are you excited about it? Is it a new challenge? What's going on? Let's get nerdy.
I know. Let's get nerdy. I don't know how many artists can talk about if they get nervous about the acoustics, but maybe a lot do. Again, it's just, there's more variables. So you can't assume that each amphitheater is going to be sounding the same. Some nights there might be more people on the lawn, which actually does affect the sound outside. The goal is to make it, even if somebody who comes to the show doesn't necessarily care about perfect sound, you still want to make it as close to what is perceived to be perfect as possible for them, because it really will kind of convey this different emotion in music. So I will be outside before the crowd is let in, not warming up my voice until...
I'm just imagining you going from a full-on sprint from one side of a field to another, checking every corner possible, ears in, ears out.
Yeah, that's basically me with headphones. This is like somewhat unrelated, but related. That's Not How This Works music video, where I'm wearing headphones and I have all the recording equipment on me. Yeah. I'm basically that before I go on stage. I'm not in the trench coat. I just have a bunch of recorders and phones going, and I'm just checking I have my headphones on. It's true dork mode kazooie.
Yeah, this is why I like talking to you though, dude. You do the transitions for me. You just smoothly bring up That's Not How This Works track with Dan and Shay.
I might know what I'm doing.
You might have done a radio room or two or a promo record or not. Dude, I heard this unreleased a couple days ago. You released quite a bit of it on TikTok. But it's at the 2:05 mark, and I know that someone that was just in there, in Logic, you probably know where I'm talking about. It's right when that deconstruct happens, right before the final call and repeat chorus, when you drop certain chords and you bring in Dan and Shay, and you guys, I mean, it's Boys to Men meets NSYNC. We've talked about this, but just the way that you are intricately playing the voices off each other. I've never heard Dan and Shay like that.
They brought something out of me, and I like to think that I brought something out of them as well. And especially since we wrote it together. I mean, it was the most obvious choice having them on the record as well.
Sure.
And also, I just don't know anybody else who could sing that note full voice like Shay.
Dude, there's no one. No one.
Like, he's ridiculous.
Yeah.
They sent me a video of it and I just got full body chills.
Here's the thing though, like I've talked to them too. He can do that like 6 takes in a row, man. That's just him. It's nuts.
Like it's nuts. It is nuts. And then on the 14th we have Sabrina's version, who it's a more like chilled, very, very much in her vocal tone, very, very special as well, and kind of like conveys this different emotion. And the lyrics are exactly the same, but it's amazing how two different artists can kind of bring forth a different emotion.
Well, I mean, the song in itself is a story, and I do want to get to the movie that you put out yesterday. I do want to get to Sabrina's version, but just real quick with the Dan and Shay version, because you did write it with the guys. When you demoed it, because I know that you'll write something with someone, and I might be off base here, but I'm assuming then you kind of lock yourself in a room, and you might create your scratch tracks, your demos. Did you sing their version first, like their lines as well?
I did originally. If you go back into the 3 years into the internet, you'll find a version that's in a completely different key. Yeah. It's a little bit slower. You can't say you hate me, then call me when you're hurt. Maybe you know that's not how this works. No. It was the demo version of just me. And then during that time, it was the very beginning of the pandemic. I had switched record labels. I kind of took I scrapped an album that I was working on and started the new album, which ended up being Charlie, the album. And this song always just kind of reared its head because it was always very special in my mind. And to add to the specialness, I thought, okay, what it shouldn't just be me. It should be it should be a collaborative moment. So that's how that came about.
And you've done duets and you've done collabs, over the course of your career for sure. But when it's something this intricate, especially at the end of this song, where they have their verse, you have yours, but then you guys are coming together. From the composer side, how are you delegating who's getting what lines, where you're jumping in? You guys are in each other's pocket too. I mean, it's not four on the floor where you guys are singing, and it's just it really is a almost orchestra choir moment,
Wow, that's very nice. I knew I liked talking to you the best. Dan of Dan and Shay is a real perfectionist, and has a really strong ear as to what should and should not happen. And he made brilliant suggestions as well. So I felt like I was I felt like I had two flamethrowers.
Yeah, dude, in your pocket, my mind and ready to go.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then the final thing on the song, at least the version I've heard, because again, Sabrina, you have that version coming out on the 14th. There's a long-standing psychology behind songs that have a faded out outro, right? It's kind of the idea of the song never officially ends. And you do your own version of that where you don't complete the verse. It goes a cappella and then it just drops, and this story is just endless. It's like, okay. Yes, and
I don't know. Exactly. I don't know if I'm describing. I don't know if I'm rather spoiling a show that people haven't seen, but it came out long enough ago where The Sopranos just kind of ends, where stop, and then Tony, you just don't know what happened to Tony, if he got whacked or if the series just ended. I love a song that comfortably ends on the offbeat because it kind of makes you want to play it again, thinking that you missed something. And then maybe that second listen, maybe somebody will listen to the song and not feel it right away.
Yeah.
Just an example. And then they'll hear that slightly shocking ending offbeat and then want to play it again. And maybe that's the second listen that's certainly happened to me.
Oh, dude.
When it comes to music.
When I got to listen to it, you know how it is. They have the briefcase with the handcuff, and you have to listen to it on their device and whatnot, which I understand. We're protecting the assets. But I must have asked to have it repeated 3 or 4 times just because of that ending after I had already gotten my notes. And what I really like from a radio standpoint too, I mean, obviously, the show's on Spotify. A lot of your music's consumed on demand. But from a radio aspect, someone's going to hear the end of that song and have to go look it up immediately, whether they want to or not.
Absolutely. Well, I don't make music just for one medium, like just for Spotify, just for radio, just for Apple Music, just for YouTube.
TikTok, yeah.
I just for TikTok. I want to, think of because people consume music in many different ways. And that ending, when Dan and I were, because that was also Dan's suggestion to just cut it right there. And I initially was like, is that weird? No, that's actually great. I could hear that's not how this works. 101, blah, blah, blah. it
all,
works really,
all
really
the
well.
hits, 96.1.
All the hits, 96.1. Today's sponsor, like it's afternoon traffic. Like it's what I grew. It's the sound of the progression of songs being premiered.
Yeah.
Like I'll hear this premiered on your station and just get all excited just to hear the commercials that happen right after. It's what I grew up with, that sound.
I'm going to be as bold to be the interviewer to ask for a promise, but if there is ever a point in the creative where you need a radio jock as part of a music video or something, I need to be that guy. I need to be. You do. Man.
Well, you're very good, and you know all the right, and you know my steez, and you're very good at what you do. So that shouldn't be an issue.
I'm excited that, this doesn't have to be a rushed interview. We're going to talk again very soon. But Charlie Puth, man, I mean, Mutual Admiration Club, man, it's always a pleasure.
I'll see you soon, hopefully in person. And thanks for the nice, kind words about the show. I do care a lot about the live sound.
Yeah. Also, I have a very funny story for you about people bringing signs to your show.
Oh yeah, I've seen all the signs.
We'll go over that next time, man. Be well.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to speaking to you again, Eric. I appreciate it.